Hey guys, welcome to the Grateful Anglers. I'm Big John.
And I'm John Bondi, and today we have a special guest, local kayak angler, Richard Offner.
Thanks for coming, Richard.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Wow, this is a treat.
This is awesome. We got his kayak set up right here in Bondi Bait and Tackle. Look at this
the color
beauty
on this thing, man.
Oh.
It's beautiful.
You can hunt off this. It's camouflage.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Before we get into it, just want to remind everybody we got our open house March the 9th. We're going to have some tables set up in the backs, have some factory reps, and Richard's going to come and talk kayak fishing. We're going to have all kinds of stuff. Come on out March the 9th, and our seminar night is March 15th. It's a Friday night. We're going to have 2 great seminars.
Beautiful. So they'll actually get to meet Richard that day and check out his kayak and all the goodies he's got on it.
Yep.
I guess you got a couple of these. And guys, kayak fishing is something that's growing huge, not only across the world, but right here on the Detroit River, Lake St. Clair and Lake Erie. You could be out there fishing and all of a sudden you look to your side and here comes a guy on a kayak. Doesn't matter how rough it is, they handle the water the same way the big boats do. What do you think, Richard?
I've been out several times out just east of Peach Island on days that there's no boats out.
That's crazy.
Winds are blowing 30 miles an hour, and you know, especially with this particular kayak, it's very stable, handles the waves very well, and I mean, you know, for people who don't know, this is a sit-on-top kayak. There's scupper holes in it. I get a wave that come across, I'm not going to sink because the water's just going to go right through it.
Oh yeah, that's what these little holes are here. So the water just, that's beautiful.
Yeah, for them.
So how did you know, like you said, it's growing so much in this area, kayak fishing. How did you get started in kayaks?
A little bit non-traditional. In 2008, I quit playing hockey. I think I broke my ankle for the last time I was going to break a bone, and I needed some exercise, so I bought a kit to build a kayak. It was taking too long. I got a little impatient, so I started researching buying one. And again, it was only for the exercise, so I ended up finding Hobie. And I didn't buy the Hobie kayak for fishing. I bought it for the exercise. And after about a year in 2007, I had 2 of them. And then in 2008, I saw somebody fishing. I never did much fishing growing up. So at 48 years old, I was going to start fishing. And make a long story short, right place, right time. I've got involved pretty heavily. In 2011, I started running tournaments, and that helped me get it, established throughout the kayak fishing industry. And well, here we are today. We're going to be hosting the Hobie Worlds in 2024, and right here in Tecumseh. So,
I've never fished out of a kayak. When did they kind of stop putting your feet down in there and sitting on top? Like, I mean, who started doing that? And it's almost like a small boat nowadays. They're nice and wide and they're stable.
Yeah, everyone's building a stable kayak now. The sit inside kayak, if you can imagine, if you flip, and I'll be honest with you, I have flipped at the worst times, but there's some videos of me flipping on the Thames River at 38-degree water.
Oh no.
And anyways, so if you can imagine flipping in a sit inside, how are you going to, especially if you're in water over your head, how are you going to flip it back over, get the water out and get back in?
No.
Yeah.
So in 2010, I was out on Lake Erie, 2 miles out, and one of the biggest storms we've had probably in the last 10 years hit really sudden from the east. And the kayak back then I had, it was a Hobie kayak, but it was 27 inches narrow, and I was out with another fella, and when the storm hit, I flipped. So you're talking, went from 1.5 foot chop to about 5 feet waves, 5-6 foot waves, and I had to learn how to get back in real quick. If I was in a sit-inside kayak, I would have been done. There was no way I was getting in. And that storm went on for a good 2 hours. It took me 2 hours to get back to shore and back to my vehicle.
End up down somebody's beach somewhere.
2 miles down.
You know what's amazing? And I'm just looking at something here right now and realizing that this thing could hold big people like that. I'm reading the weight. That chair is rated for 350 pounds, so that's pretty amazing that it's how these things are built. And I'm just looking at all the stuff on your seat there. It's pretty high tech.
Oh yeah, it's got a lumbar support. You can raise it like this, and if you're in rough weather and you don't want to be sitting that high,
down.
You can sit it back down.
Look at
So,
that.
yeah. Okay.
So Hobie now has a Canadian connection, you were telling us? Why don't you explain that a little bit?
Yes, in 2021, 3 Canadian individuals purchased Hobie, and in 2022 they added another partner, which happened to be local, and there's a footprint here in Windsor, actually in Lakeshore, an office on just off Patillo Road, and that has helped to bring the Hobie Worlds here in Tecumseh.
Yeah, I'm sure that helped a lot. Why don't you explain your history as a tournament fisherman? You've been all over the world. You know, that'll tell you when you have worldwide tournaments that kayak fishing has really grown. Explain a little bit about the kayak tournaments and where we're at.
All right. Well, the first tournaments that I was in was 2009, and I went there without any expectation. And the people I met in 2009 are still very close friends today. And that first tournament in the Kawarthas. And in 2011, I was asked to run a tournament. Still not being very skilled at fishing, getting my feet wet. But as running an event.
Don't let him kid you guys. He can fish.
Running an event, I was, I've been in administration in sports for a long time, hockey, soccer, and it came easy to start up a tournament here. It's called the Border City Classic, and from that, I got involved with Hobie, and we sponsored the Hobie Worlds, a angler being qualified to go to the Hobie Worlds, and we had a few locals going there and done well. Kyle Moxon, who finished second in the Netherlands. Rob Baginski, who finished second in Sweden in 2019, I think it was.
Yeah, Kyle, he used to be really big into his kayak
we have
fishing.
2 Canadians that have done quite well at the Hobie Worlds in separate times, and they came from the original Border City Classic we ran. But
that's great.
Tournaments in that time have grown. There's actually full-time kayak anglers.
I was going to ask you that. Like, I follow a girl, Christine Fisher, on Instagram.
I got a story about you about her.
But is there like a Kevin Van Dam of the kayak world right now? Somebody that's just dominant?
Yes, there's a few of them. I mean, I don't want to forget anybody. There's some young kids coming up. There's bass boat guys.
Ike and Ellie is one.
Ike and Ellie's fished. Carl Jochumsen, I think he got a start in Australia fishing out of a kayak, and he got back. He did his first tournament this year back in a kayak. He did the opening Hobie Boss in Harris Chain of Lakes.
I'm going to tell you a quick little story because he brought up the name Christine Fisher. So we were fishing one day at a Bell River, and it was rough, nasty, and we didn't even think about going. Like, we were debating on going out in the boat. There was nobody out there, and we made the decision to go. And we said, we're just going to go around the curve there, and we're going to cast the rocks. It was the best day ever. And who comes rolling out was Christine Fisher in this kayak, and I mean that the waves are no problem, and she was nailing muskie, we were nailing muskie. That day, you could have thrown a sock and caught muskie. I don't
think you invited me that day.
Well, yeah, we made a decision. We were fishing the Thames in the morning because it was rough, and we didn't catch anything. And we said, let's go check out Bow River. And then as soon as we got to Bow River, we second guessed ourselves and said, oh, this is a bad decision. But we were already there, so we're like, let's just go in tight. And that was the day I lost my GoPro and almost fell out of the boat. But anyways, that's a little bit off topic.
But there's a side story to that. Christine was staying with me for the week to come down muskie fishing, and I still had to work. I couldn't take every day off.
Yeah.
She started on the Detroit River because it was that windy in the morning, and I called her up and I said, how's it going there? She said, well, not very good. And I said, well, I think the wind's calming down a bit. How about you go over to Bell River? So I suggested she get up and move to Bell River.
That's the day. I bet you that's the day.
I'm sure it was.
The day she almost drowned.
No, she was I mean, that you'd be amazed how that kayak handled that stuff.
Speaking of situations like that, these things are getting up in price. Do people insure these things? I mean, I know you probably want to insure them against theft, but is there kayak insurance? Because they're not cheap.
There's different flyers on your home insurance and even car insurance, and people are getting different types of policies. Personally, I have never insured my kayaks. They're some of it's covered through my house insurance,
Well, that makes it a little easier then.
I got one question for you. How did the kayak fishing evolve from the paddle to the foot control? I'm sure there's a proper name for it, and you can.
It's almost like the paddles for emergencies now. You know what I mean? They got them strapped down there. It's
That paddle strapped down there. I've had kayaks I've had owned for a year or two that's never come out of it.
Really?
Yeah, because you know, if I needed to paddle out off of some shallow water, I used to have a little hand paddle that we kept and I'd store under my seat, and I just kind of do this instead of taking that out.
So the only thing that the foot pedal,
the Mirage Drive,
so
invented the Mirage Drive. I think it was back in the late '90s, early 2000s, and they had a patent on it. It wasn't for fishing; it was just for recreation kayak. People just started using the Hobie kayak for fishing, and along came Native. Native had a propeller, so there's the big debate is pedal or prop. Now,
okay.
So the thrust with the fins is much greater than a propeller. And the other thing with the fins on a Hobie, which the advantage over a prop, is we can move the fins up against the hull and we can feather it. So we can go in 6 inches of water without any trouble.
That's awesome.
The prop kayaks, they can't. They got to lift it right up.
Oh, okay.
So that's a big advantage. When we're going through, you go over to Mitchell's Bay, and you know the big difference there is all the grass when it comes out. You get into July or August,
yeah,
it's impossible. Well, we can cut right through it.
Really?
Oh yeah, we run one of our topwater events there once in a while, and the guys at the prop will go in there and they start swearing because they're not used to it.
Yeah.
We just cut right through it.
Cut right through. And now this here is your rudder?
So on the Hobie 360, so the Mirage Drive first came out as a forward only. Well, one of the advantages that the prop kayak companies, they had forward and reverse, and they always said, you know, held that over Hobie. So Hobie then got the 180. Okay. So you could pull a lever and the fins would turn around and you could go backwards.
Oh, awesome.
So then the prop company said, well, we still have instant reverse.
Okay.
So then Hobie came out with the 360. This is a 360. This has been their flagship. The patent on the original Mirage Drive wore out, and the 360 is now patented. So 360 means we can turn it. So this is for the rudder, and this will turn it 100 or 360 degrees on it. I can do it all.
Oh, okay.
That's the rudder.
Got it back there.
That's your steering for the rudder.
Awesome.
You want to turn the fins. So you could be sitting here and basically spinning on a dime.
That's amazing.
Now we're going over the boat. Can you give us some tips on you know, safety tips? Like, these are very low to the water. For the person who's just going to go out and buy their first kayak, I mean, what's the best way to not get run over and, you know, be safe on the water? What are your recommendations for that? If somebody's sending their 16-year-old boy out on the water, what should they be telling them?
Number one, wear a PFD. I cannot tell you how often I've seen recreation people go out in canoes and kayaks and they'll launch right from stop 26. And in November, I'll even add that to it, in cold water, and they'll put their cases of beer in their kayaks that are in the canoe, and they'll put 3 people in that kayak with their jeans on, and they're going to paddle over to Peach Island. Well, the cold water is one thing, and you got current there, but the PFD, number one. The PFD will give you at least some time to get out of your situation that you might be in.
Give you some time to think about what just happened.
And you use a flag. I see these guys that have an orange flag.
We wear a flag. The deal there is, you know, I fished in, you know, the ocean, the Gulf, and a lot of different places, even out here. You get a 2-foot wave. Some kayak, like this is a higher kayak. Some of them are a little lower. You completely disappear to boats.
Yeah.
And that I've had power boats come to me as calm a place as the French River, and that's sort of the first time it happened. The guy come right up to me and said, "Geez, you know, thank you for that flag. That's how I saw you." So you actually disappear in the horizon, and sometimes depending on the light, it's the fog.
So just an amazing piece of equipment. Now, when these are built, are they shot in one injection? Like, is it one piece?
It's
or
rotomolding.
Oh, okay.
So you put the resin in, and I've never actually witnessed the process, but It's
I think I saw a video online where they were
Yes,
making some kayaks, and it was like dumping a powder or something into the mold, and they clamp it and they just heat it up.
There's a video of the guy that used to be on Cheers. I forget the one name, the post office guy. And,
Cliff.
Cliff is at the Hobie plant showing it off.
Is that right?
I don't know if you can find that still, but I saw it years ago.
Another question too. Is this kind of like similar to fiberglass? Like, can you run a through-hull transducer, or do you got to have an external transducer for
There
your
is a
fish finder?
There is the transducer pocket underneath,
Okay.
and this is, you pull this lever. It says transducer on it,
Let me see.
and
Oh, yeah.
that'll drop it down.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you've helped bring this very large tournament to this area. It's been on the news. Give us a little rundown of the significance of this big Hobie tournament coming.
Well, the Hobie Worlds they try to run them once a year. COVID kind of stopped that, but they've been in Australia, China, Sweden, the Netherlands, and they're looking for new in the U.S. This is the first time it's in Canada. It's something we worked on. Tim Percy and myself, we've participated in Worlds in Australia, China, and Sweden, and we convinced them to come here. And along with the recent Canadian ownership, it was a good fit. And in June, the end of June, there will be approximately 45, 50 anglers from 20 different countries that will come and fish right off Lakewood Park. And it's a 5-day function, 2 days of pre-fishing and 3-day event. And you'll see approximately 50 kayaks laid out on the grass there in Lakewood Park.
And what's the target species?
Well, it'll be bass. It's a typical 5 bass event.
Well, they're going to catch the fire.
Do you have a live? Do you have a live well in here, or how do you guys weigh them in?
Okay, so for kayak fishing, we use a measuring board.
Oh, okay.
We put the fish on it. We take a picture, and sometimes in some different lakes, it's funny how some species act, but it's harder than catching the fish is getting a good picture.
Yeah.
So so 5 fish, it's by length, not by weight.
They're going to really catch them because that shallow Lake St. Clair at the end of June.
That's
It's going to be good.
That last week of June, and I always say we've got it down to the first approximately 10 days into October are the best times to fish for smallmouth bass here in Lake St. Clair.
Yeah, it's not going to be. They won't have to go far.
No.
No.
They won't have to go far.
Especially at Lakewood Park.
Yeah.
But you know what? Some of those kayakers do end up going far. I'm amazed sometimes, some days when I see them out there, how far you guys actually travel on the river. And, because see you in one spot in the morning, then be a couple miles down the road, and oh, there they come. They're up here now, too.
So the only place that will launch for this tournament will be Lakewood Park. It's all like from the same spot, but you'll see some of these Australian guys, they'll go 5, 6, 7 miles.
They're probably used to that.
Oh yeah,
That's nothing for them.
Yeah.
And
Come in for a Foster's after.
a few of them.
Now, like in our river, speed-wise, does the current make a big difference in your how fast you're moving on this thing?
Yes, it does. Now that's the funny thing. When people ask about getting involved in kayak fishing locally, I tell them, save yourself some money and go right to some sort of pedal kayak. Obviously, I push the Hobie kayak because I think the thrust of the fins is a little stronger than a prop. But whether it's a prop or pedal kayak, if you're going to paddle, you're going to struggle. I mean, you got to be a pretty strong paddler to get out near the river, at the mouth of the river there, where the fishing is really good at the end of June. But yeah, I tell them, sit on top, some sort of pedal kayak is the way to go. Otherwise, you're going to buy a paddle kayak, you're going to get frustrated, you're not going to be able to go where the rest of us are going, and you may quit.
Yeah. You know what I always love watching, and because there's several people on the river that do it, but you see a lot of people vertical jigging from these things, and they're pedaling to keep themselves vertical, just like we do with the electric trolling motors. But you see when they miss a fish, they get all mad and start pedaling really hard. And and it's like, it's funny. You see when they really start getting on it, this kayak jolts quick, like it.
Well, they're trying to get back up current. Right
Yeah,
if they miss, you want to go over that area again.
Oh yeah, that's probably it.
One thing I'll tell you is, so now that I've been in a boat for a few years, jigging for walleye out of a kayak is much easier to land. My success rate is better in a kayak than it is in a boat.
Really?
Can you guess why?
Low to the water.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you get that net, you get used to popping the net out. It's right there, and you're getting it. And I don't know how many times you're just getting the fish in the net and it's falling off the hook. Probably half the time.
Is there any techniques that are too difficult to do, like fly fishing or anything like that? Like what is the toughest technique to do on a kayak?
Hand lining. I think you can do it though.
I've done it. I have it set up, yeah, but I still prefer jigging.
Yeah.
Over to hand lining.
That's
but
awesome that you did it though.
So the question you brought up is there's guys fly fishing. Obviously there's certain places you fly fish, maybe not in 3-foot waves. But yeah, especially on the Hobie kayak, that's a perfect kayak for a fly fisherman. But one of the toughest things I've done is try float fishing, float and spawn down a river, because I've tried it.
Yeah.
But we annually go to the Grand River and we back troll. I don't know if you know what back trolling is, or you pull them, you put out a couple plugs. I've had 3 lines. You can use 3 lines in Michigan.
Yeah.
So I'll have 3 lines out. We use plugs in probably about 7 to 10 feet of water. And you're going up current, but you're actually coming back a little bit, but you're forcing yourself just enough against the current to have the plugs wobbling. And that's difficult, but for me that's the most challenging. To land a fish without tangling up all your lines is...
Right.
One more thing, guys, we came outside. Look how easy it is for him to get this down to the water. He doesn't even need a trailer. That's a nice setup you got there, Richard, with that just comes out of your receiver of your hitch?
Yep.
Beautiful. And then what do you, 2 or 3 straps and you're good to go, eh?
2 straps.
Beautiful. So yeah, Richard, we really appreciate you coming on the show. It's it's tough. Not everybody can get down here early in the morning before John opens, but Richard was nice enough to say, yeah, I'll come down there and do it. And it's just amazing the technology and how these are built, and you're so great for the sport, and it's awesome, this big tournament that's coming, and it's really amazing. It's growing, and yeah, we really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Hobie Fishing Worlds 10 and 11 it's actually called.
It's called what? Yeah.
Hobie Fishing Worlds 10 and 11.
10 and 11. Okay, awesome.
Are you gonna go?
Well, yeah, I might go check it out.
We encourage
What's the date on it?
It's we start on Tuesday, June 25th is registration. We will go right through to Sunday.
Okay.
Will there be food?
John, he's always hungry.
Yep, there'll be food for us.
Oh. All right.
Bring your lunch bill, John.
You guys, this is Grateful Anglers signing out. We appreciate everybody. We hit 1,000 followers on here, and we'd like to get to 10,000. So give us a follow, send us around, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, we're really appreciative of you all, guys. Like I said, we broke the, when was it? Tuesday or Monday, we broke the 1,000 subscriber mark. I think we're at 1,009. So just it really is awesome. Guys, we just like having a lot of fun with this, and it's not something that we do every week, but when we can find interesting people and interesting topics, yeah, we're gonna have one. And if anybody has any topics that you want us to do, or anybody you want to see on the show, let us know, and we'll see what we can do. So cheers.
God bless.
Love yous all.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We're out.